Welcome to another episode of Focus, Enter the Cloud. In this episode, Lloyd talks to Bas Eggelaar and Juul van Dongen from SuccessDay. SuccessDay is the largest independent platform-agnostic advisory firm in the Benelux and DACH region. They help with selection, preparation for a new HCM tool, and fulfill customer roles during implementation, such as project management, change, data, testing, and functional and technical leads. Next to this, they are the largest in Workday, AMS, Oracle, and Dayforce. And they are growing fast. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. How are you? How was the travel?
Yeah, it was all good. Eindhoven Stansted is flight is nice. Airport is so. Train is mwah.
Been there once.
Yeah.
Been there once myself.
Feels like being neighbors. Like door to door is 4 hours, so it's.
Is it that?
Yeah,
I thought it was.
Yeah. You should come over more often.
I think it was 2.
No. From my door to Liverpool Street. Is 4
Oh,
hours.
of course.
Yeah.
Takes you longer to get to Manchester from London. So yeah. So great, guys. Obviously, we've been working together a long time, right? Across various brands of the Focus Cloud Group, and tell me about why did you set up SuccessDay? How did this all come about?
Shall I pick this one?
Yeah, of course. Do the sales.
So I was working as a VP of HR myself. Throughout my career, implemented some software, and then where we met at Unveiling Systems, automotive company, we implemented Workday. We selected Workday, we implemented Workday. And if you look at it from a high point of view, a high level, we almost stayed within the triple constraint. So from project point of view, it was successful. But we underestimated a lot of things. Basically, I always say we stepped in all pitfalls you can step into. We invented some pitfalls, and we saw around us all our peers having the same issues in how do you select, how do you prepare. I didn't even knew that you had to have a job catalog, for example. I didn't knew that you have to have a test manager, and when you see everybody, including yourself, having that challenges, having a system implemented, designed modular instead of journey-like, then I thought, why is there not another company, that helps throughout that process from selection to implementation, but then at the customer side.
Yeah.
And that's what we started doing.
I think that was where we first met, wasn't it?
We first met at that automotive company.
Yes, we did. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
And that was 2018, 2019, something like that?
Yeah, I think so. 2017 we started the project.
Yeah.
And in 2018 then probably we needed a test manager.
Yeah.
Called you guys.
Yeah, I remember it well. Yeah. Okay.
We struggled a bit with. We needed to be the internal consultancy, and when you miss out the information to challenge the SI, the vendor, but also the internal organization on what to do to be successful. That was quite hard.
Yeah. So what's the journey been like so far? I mean, I know. I can tell you about the journey, but this is about you, not me. So,
it's really nice.
What's the journey been like since you started the company, since the idea came into your head?
At first I thought we will be the largest on change management, because that's where it often goes wrong, right? On user adoption.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we are now far more technical company than I've envisioned, balancing between advisory and configuration support. But the journey has been really like a roller coaster, because we are going to 100 people in just over 4 years.
Yeah.
And that's the part I think we didn't envision. I got great.
This is crazy growth, right?
I know we said to each other in the beginning, like when we're with 15 employees, then it's too big for us.
Yeah.
And there's room for 30 max in the market we were in, and that's not the case.
So let me take you back, actually. So day one, right? You launched this company, and there's the two of you. Yeah. And where did you launch it? So day one, where was it?
At first, initially, I quit my job.
Yeah.
And sold myself as program director for a large derailed SuccessFactors implementation. That was step one. And then I was at Workday Rising, just playing table soccer. How do you call it in English?
Yeah, table soccer.
Table soccer. Talking to a guy. He said, "Do you want to join?" No, I want to drink beer. And I kept in contact with him. A very large, I didn't know the company, but a large dredging company from Belgium. And I traveled to Belgium 3, 4, 5 times, because you have to build relationship. And I thought, you know what, my sheets are crappy, we don't have anything. They have us to balance between one of the the other big consultancy firms. And then at a certain point said, yeah, let's do business together. Can you set up a statement of work, which we didn't have? So right, and from that point on, it went upwards. And most proud is that we really add value and that all the customers are happy, all.
Yeah.
And that's I think.
So you got 100% referenceability.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
100% satisfied customers, and that's something different than 100% customer satisfaction. But we always drop a ball somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's always about how you're going to solve it, building that relationship, gaining the trust from the customer, and that's really the success throughout the last 4 years. So,
Yeah. So what's been the biggest challenge? You know, 0 to 100 people in 4 years.
Basically, I think in retrospect, we are not that different than other fast-growing companies. At the beginning, you're always too late. Always too late to think, oh shit, it's now getting too big. I need a management team, or I need a recruiter, or we need to have a CRM system. At the moment you think, okay, now we need it, then in retrospect, you needed it 6 months before.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's a conscious decision we made in 21, where we said, okay, let's agree that the EBIT will be lower this year because we need to pre-invest to make the company ready for the next phase.
Yeah.
But also, I think maintaining the culture, growing that fast is a challenge. But I think we achieved that one by keeping on top of it, making sure that we set the right values together with the team. And back then it was I think we started setting up the values with 7-8 people, and even draw it out. And it's still in your toilet, right?
Above the toilet, right?
Yeah.
But that really stated what we wanted to be and what we wanted
makes
to
us
maintain.
different. Yeah. And what makes us different in the market.
Yeah. I got to say, every time I'm speaking to a vendor who you guys are involved in, they always highly, highly recommend SuccessDay. Which is really, really good. So, no doubt over the last 4 years, there's been some mistakes. What would you say your biggest mistakes are, if you could go back in time?
I think we, you also want to build your company and take chances, also taking risks, of course. And, I think we had one customer where we had a PM that didn't have the right background from HRIT, and I think we were too enthusiastic there. But in the end, we also solved it. So customer was unhappy because they knew and they saw that the PM was not bringing the value that we as SuccessDay should have brought. But we managed to step in, and we managed to.
And then it's also to be. I think that's what makes us different than with the consultancy firms I worked when I was on the other side of the table.
Yeah,
we are just honest guys, and then we say, this is not the right value we are bringing. This is how we're going to solve it, and we give you back the money.
Yeah.
And I think that's and the other challenge is what I just mentioned. If that you're just sometimes too late in making decisions on. But I want everybody billable. But at a certain point, it's just impossible.
Yeah.
Right? So I would do that different.
I think we were then on the edge of we needed people. So then you start hiring people.
Yeah.
But just 1 year before, we draw down the values. So sometimes we missed out on challenging one another on we're going to hire a senior person. So it needs to fit in within the culture.
Yeah.
And not compromising, the values if you compare it to growth. So we still can grow, but we want to make sure that we do that within what we believe in, and not compromising that.
What are your main values for the audience that don't know?
That's a good point. Work hard, play hard. So we really believe in customer employee satisfaction in everything what we do. So that means that we stay on output. Not on being at the office 3 days a week. So there's a lot of fun stuff that we try to do to create that cool feeling, so people can go to the gym. We have unlimited holiday days, and it's not because we want to be that cool hip consultancy firm, but because we believe in that balance. If you have people balance their work life, whatever that is for them, that they can excel in their work. They have unlimited coaching, and we don't care if they talk about their marriage or about the work, the stuff they struggle, just to make sure that they can deliver. Family. And family, not in the corny way you have to be with your parents-in-law during Christmas, which you hate, and then start drinking at 11. But family means we have each other's back. One of the things I'm really proud of, and sometimes I get a bit emotional, is we had one consultant joining from one of the big 4 consultancy firms, and she messed up.
Yeah.
Shit happens, data stuff. And the team was saying, hey, we go now to the personal trainer, do you join? And she said, no, I messed up. I have to work until night to get this solved. And then everybody dropped their bags and start helping out. So nobody, and that's something you cannot put in a handbook or in rules. That's really culture. So that's the other.
Win as a team, lose as a team.
100%.
Yeah.
And that also, I think it's a more holistic view. So we also have the, being open and transparent, dare to give feedback. So not that someone comes to me say, I heard that colleague did and that. I said, okay, go back and give your own feedback. So, but it's also a big responsibility for me and Bas, making sure that people feel safe to say anything that they want.
Yeah.
And of course, that is quite difficult when you become bigger and bigger because new people come in and see Bas and I as the owners. But we really try to also challenge one another. Are we open enough? Are we transparent enough? Can people say anything they want to say? Because I really believe if you focus on that, not only by saying it, but also by actually doing it and pushing the management team on doing so, that really brings that culture of also learning, and learning by giving feedback. And you see, when people come from, whether it's a big consultancy firm or other corporate organizations start working for us, they really struggle in the beginning with that aspect of culture.
Yeah.
Because being open also means that, being a bit vulnerable towards others and towards yourself. And, but I really and I strongly believe in constantly focusing on that part of the culture as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great value to have. It's something that we really try to push here as well. Consistently, whenever I'm in a room with, let's say 4 walls, I would say to someone, please be open and honest with me and give me feedback even, as well as each other. So I think it's a great value to have. Yeah, really.
Because even
really
we
good.
make mistakes, and then we
Not that
literally
much.
You a bit more than I do.
Are you allowed to admit that?
But it's also, towards the management team, showing that even during our management team meetings, saying, okay, we had a different opinion on this one, but maybe it was not the right one, and it being challenged by the people around you, and that's how we constantly manage our business. So,
Yeah. So who wins when you have a conflict between you guys? Who wins?
I think
both.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing with Juul and myself is with Juul I can have a lot of fun. We can have a lot of fun. We can have huge debates. I see him more than my own wife, right? But we always come to sort of common ground. This is the direction.
You should have put a ring on it.
He's planning to. He told me. After this, he's going to get down on one knee.
I lost my own knee. No, but that's really the case.
No, it's
we
true. Yesterday evening, we were just arrived and having dinner, and
in the argument you were wrong.
It just suddenly turned into heavily debating about some internal topics, and but then after that we can drink a beer. We can say literally anything to each other, and I think that is also part of the success as well.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Have you ever been outvoted by any of your team members? So let's say for example you guys want to do a certain thing, and you've got a team there with, let's say, 98 people, roughly. Let's say the team wanted to do something. Has there ever been any occasions where the team wanted to do something, you guys didn't think that was a good idea, but you say, hey, you know what? Let's do what you want to do.
We have that in the management team very often, right? So I know myself, I'm really an entrepreneur. And for example, we started Workday AMS. We are not the biggest in the Benelux in Workday configuration. Well, business as usual, you should call it, but because it's not solely AMS. We did it with a vision on to do it different. The moment we started it, we weren't even Workday advisory partner. So that means that you're unable to train your people, etc., etc. And we started it and we nailed it, etc. I think if we would do it the same now, we would have more debates in the management on the how. But to give you now a specific example on where we were, let's say, overruled by the management team, I'm not sure, but we always have good discussions.
We are challenged very often by our management team, and I think that is the result of the culture. And one example was last week. We were hiring constantly new people, and we during the interviews, all the candidates really experience an open culture, a culture where they can decide whether they come to the office or work from home. But if as soon as you receive the contract from us and the proposal, then it's a bit strictly stated that your first place to work is the office, then the client, and then back home. So and that is really challenged by our team, because they say candidates really struggle with that part of the contract, and we really were like, but this is what it is, because we as an employer also need to be a bit not so much strict, but we need to make very clear what we expect from you.
And we don't want different contracts for different employees, right? You want one template for everybody.
But they keep on challenging that part, and then we decided, okay, then we need to rephrase that sentence in the contract, and we did so, and now everyone's happy. So, but like a week ago, we wouldn't even reconsider changing that part of the contract, and now it's changed. So,
well, that's good. There you go. There's a prime example, right? So the HR market, as you know, we started Focus back in 2015 and entered the Workday market quite heavily, hence where we met. But I've seen huge changes and huge trends over the last 7 years. What changes and trends have you seen?
First, the first was to get digital. Then it went to focus more on employee journeys instead of getting a system live. So how should it feel when somebody joins your company or leaves your company, and then translate that to technology. That's a big trend. What I see coming now more and more is coming back is cost. Insight in who are my people, what are they paid, where do we have inefficiencies, and it of course has also to do with the state of the economy, right? So I think those are trends, and then more in depth you have now skills is everybody's thinking, okay, there's now technology where I can use skills instead of job profiles, but how the hell do I implement that? That's also a big trend which I see.
You see really a fluctuation, because during COVID a lot of companies really struggled but getting good insights in how much people do we actually have working for us. So managing that workforce human capital was really hard for a lot of companies, because everyone was back at home and not longer at the office. So there was a really big need on getting more and more insights. And after COVID, now you see that a lot of companies struggle with getting the right people in, right? So they want to have the right insights in who are our talents internally, and what can we provide them with. So you see quite a lot of shifts in where the focus areas are. And AI is, of course, stepping in.
That's another minefield we're gonna enter as well, isn't it? I mean, it's a positive minefield, but it's got challenges along the journey, right?
Yeah, some vendors are really behind the trend. I know I was at a conference almost 8 years ago where SuccessFactors presented an AI bot, still not working properly. So where you see that Workday and Oracle are really stepping in, an AI bot is really supporting, guiding the user through the system. And I think that is...
that will go fast now.
100%. You see that everyone, every user, end user, and we are all end users, downloading apps day by day, whether it's from the App Store or for your private reasons or for work. It needs to be easy to use, right? And I think there lies also a big success for vendors to make it a success.
Yeah, because then your user adoption can go much faster. Instead 100%. Of training people how to do job requisition in the system, then you just ask somebody or a bot or an AI bot to say, okay, I want to do this, this, and this, and then it goes automatically.
It should already be part of the system itself. A couple of years ago, you saw a lot of those layer app applications.
Like WalkMe.
Like WalkMe, but now the vendors need to implement that, embed that within the system. Otherwise, users will drop off. And then,
yeah. You mentioned their company's journey is going digital. Did you see the huge uptick of organizations going digital in COVID?
Yeah, absolutely. We grew tremendously during COVID because then, I think in the Netherlands, a lot of companies, at least a lot of companies, it was possible to work from home. At least the technology was there, but we saw that everybody felt, okay, this is changing. It takes a long time. How do we do it? And we need to get digital. We need to have insight on who is where and what is doing. So, and that trend will never stop. Also for HR, there's still a lot of HR departments that have a lot of manual work. A lot of people do manual stuff like making contracts and using a lot of systems, triple, 20 times double data entry. I can remember my last job as an employee. I joined and I got 15 forms to fill in my name, for the pension, for the.
I remember those days.
and I did it on already then. I did it on one and said on the rest, see page one. And then I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And that trend also, when you talk about being more efficient as HR and focusing on the things where you add value, having a proper employee journey, that will never stop.
No.
At least especially with the scarcity on talent, that's throughout Europe, right? So that's what differs you as an employer. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I don't think it works to be an employer which, okay, for this you need to go to HR, for that you need to go IT, and for this you need to go to facilities, for this you need to go to finance. I couldn't care less as an employee. It needs to be accessible.
You want to join or you want to leave.
Yeah.
You want to do something.
Yeah.
And
So bringing all
it's
those.
an interesting point, isn't it? It's the vendors try to make the systems, and they are doing a really good job, right? Some of the feedback that I've heard recently from vendors, and I won't mention any particular vendor, but let's say a new kid on the block from a HR vendor point of view. I was speaking to one of their employees who just implemented it in their organization, and I said, what do you like about this new product? And they said, it looks like Facebook. Yeah. And Facebook, no one's ever had training on Facebook, have they? So therefore, if it looks like Facebook and it feels like Facebook, then you don't need effectively training on that system, then, do you?
Exactly.
I think that's a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know the vendors the large vendors, some of them said that a couple of years back, but then it wasn't as Facebook.
Yeah.
That's coming now to life. But to Jules' point, I think companies, and that's also what we do in our Phase Zero, shouldn't focus only on the HR silo, but really think about somebody's joining.
Yeah.
How should that feel throughout the way? Which also is giving somebody their laptop or their access card or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think we failed slightly in the early days with that. So someone would join the business, and what happens then? Where do they get their laptop from? What systems should they have live from day one? Should they?
Or prior to day one, right?
Prior to day one, yeah, even prior to day one. Who do they need to go to fix certain problems if there's a problem? Well, there shouldn't be a problem, right?
Yeah.
On day one, but of course sometimes there is. How do you guys think that HRES is going to help employees grow within organizations in the next, let's say, 2 to 5 years? What expectations do you have of how things are going to change?
Good question.
Good question.
I come back to what I earlier mentioned. I think as an employee, you couldn't care less how you are supported, if you are supported, right? So I think there is always a need for people to get the opportunity to grow, to know what are my capabilities, where can I grow into, which role within the organization, or even I have a dream to not, grow within the organization, but go, work somewhere else in the future. And how is that being facilitated by my current employer? And I don't think I think it's more an holistic view on work-life balance, being able to manage that as an employee, and that your employer is supporting that, giving you the opportunity to really build your own life and saying yes to things you like and no to things you don't like, right? So supporting that in any way with whether it's AI or any tool. I think that can be more. That will be more the future. And I know it's a bit of a vague answer to your question, but I think it's taking control over where you want to go to, what you need, where your needs are, whether it's private, whether it's work. Supporting that in a way as an employer, being part of that is becoming more and more important.
If I can tap into that to make it, because if it comes to technology is there, right? If you 10 years ago as an employee, you didn't have any clue what data was held by the company. You didn't have access to your own personal file, or you need to go to HR and then ask for that folder. Now it's there, so that part is there, knowing what's available. Secondly, if the company has proper job catalogs or user skills, then there's technology to find out, hey, this is a gig which I want to do next to my day-to-day job. So gigs are coming in. I see companies experimenting with that. With skills, same thing. Also, everybody's struggling. Like, if I say that I can do plastering and you say that you can do it very well as well, and then we put it in a system.
I'd never say that. That's one thing you're never going to get me saying.
That's one thing I can't do either. But we put it in a system, then how as a company do you measure the value of us doing it ourselves? So everybody's struggling, but I think from technology point of view, it's there.
Yeah.
The thing I see companies doing is making it too bureaucratic and too difficult. I was discussing with a prospect, and they want to do what we call join. They call it onboarding, but we look at it more holistically.
Yeah.
And they had a list, and then the list had to go with 3 signatures back to HR. That doesn't feel like an onboarding program. That feels like you need to do this, right? And then you need to sign here that you have done it. So that's a trend, I think, which technology can also support very well. Without making. Does it answer your question a bit? Because
it does. It does. Do you know? Sometimes I get these wonderful ideas, right? And I'm going to share this with you, right? But I will require a cut if this comes off. I'm just joking. You was talking about some of the things HR systems do, and I've just thought whilst I've been speaking to you, some of the things that HR systems don't do. And I've got this ring here. This is an Aura ring, and it tracks my sleep on the app, right? One of the things that I don't think, unless you can point me in the right direction here, I might be wrong, that HR systems don't do is they don't monitor the employee's health.
Yeah, that is the challenging part, because it's fun that you raising this idea. We are as individuals sharing all data that we have personally with any big company in the world, because so we can use free apps.
If your health data, right? It's now.
But we're so anxious to share data with our employer.
Yeah.
And that is the hardest part, also for employers, to get things right.
Yeah.
Right? Connecting the dots on what people do like in private life, whether they get energy from, like executing hobbies or doing sports, all these kind of things. And we are always really holding back on sharing these kind of information with our employer. So it's also hard for an employer to give the right advice and support and pushing people in the right direction. And I think that AI can help there by making things, keeping data private, but getting the right insights for an employer.
Getting results.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting results in a graph or whatever, and then maybe flagging up an issue before the issue becomes a bigger issue.
Yeah. And whether it's health or the capabilities that people have or the interests they have, connecting the dots with one another, making sure that you have those kind of insights as an employer. And even then, I think tools like Talent can pull off, because I saw some great tools last year, the Unleash, and I thought, yes, this can work, but only if people share their data with the employer.
Yeah.
Because who's going to maintain their talent within the company? And I need to log in and fill in what I do.
If it's done automatically,
exactly.
If that sort of thing's done automatically, I think you'll obviously have people who opt in and people who decide to opt out of that particular area. But I think that's vendors, if you're listening,
I do think that it's not only HR anymore. I think HR is going to move more to then, a more holistic view on employees instead of only doing the human capital management of the organization. So.
Yeah, and I agree. Okay, change in perspective on usability of software solutions. Big competition from Oracle and Ceridian towards Workday. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, so what we see is that Workday always has been one of the strongest and front runners, of course, within the HRIS solutions globally. And Oracle was always lagging a bit behind, but they reinvented themselves, I can say. And what we see is that they're so heavily focusing on the usability and the mobility functionality and making it easy as possible to use. Like your example of Facebook, no one ever learned how to use Facebook.
Yep.
And I think that's the key to success for vendors. And there's where we see that others are catching up, and even catching up on Workday, where they always were the front runners.
Yeah.
And they were the first one that started with the newest technology in the cloud. Yeah. While the rest was still bought suites, and then they were the first with a full EHM suite, and then now they are also doing, of course, the finance, but they cannot do the full ERP as, for example, Oracle can do, right? Because when you go to the logistics or that kind of thing, then Oracle SAP are stronger. And on the other side, we see Dayforce winning a lot of business here in the UK, but also moving towards Germany. Yeah. So
Dayforce, of course, launching soon in Germany.
Yeah, German payroll will go live end of this year, and I'm expecting that, especially to the nature of the business, a lot of family-owned manufacturing companies that they will win a lot of business there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the point that I wanted to make, especially on this one, is that all the vendors have their strengths and weaknesses, right? But as soon as you, as a customer, requests vendors to come in and show what a system can, then there's still people around the table that are end users and used to use apps on their mobile phone. So by focusing on the usability of the system, then it doesn't really matter whether the vendor has a really great talent or a really great data connection or a really great reporting functionality. Because the first thing they want to know is, how's the usability of the system?
Yeah.
Is it intuitive to use?
Yeah.
Yes or not?
See, it's got to be easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you've got to open it up. You've got to almost know how to use it before someone shows you. Yeah. And if you want to find something which may not be easy to find, you got to know where to get it, right? It's got to almost tell you where to get it straight away, isn't it?
And it really also depends, I think, on the why. And why are you or do you want to implement software? And one side of the medal is this, it's a very important part. The other side, otherwise vendor selection can be shorter, but is we also look at under the hood. How is the system set up? How is connectivity? If you ask any vendor, can you integrate with system XYE? The answer is always yes. But if it's a Chinese interface, which in my case is double data entry, that's not at all. So you always also need to do the technical deep dive and looking at total cost of ownership to determine, is this my system, right?
Yeah.
So there's two sides of the medal.
Yeah.
Which brings us nicely on to phase 0.
Here you have it, creating the bridge.
There you go. If I could reach over there, I'd high five you.
You see my eyes start.
Yeah.
This is you can call it a product which we invented.
Yeah.
And really based on our own experience, and it's now copied, which means that we are doing the right thing. And phase 0 is twofold. On one end is making sure, so we do that prior to an implementation, and basically what we do is creating the future target operating model. 2 ways. One, making sure the company has data standards. So the obvious one is making sure they have a job catalog. The other one is definitions on what is one FTE in our company. How do you calculate this FTE in Mexico, and how do you calculate it here in the UK? If somebody goes on maternity leave for 3 to or here 6 months, does this FTE count or not? What's the definition of base salary? So it's really taxonomy handbook. And when we do this, then it's the first time that in such a company, finance and HR have exactly the same numbers when the system is implemented. So that's data. The other side is target operating model. And I would say all other vendors or all other colleagues, they start with system first, and we don't do that. We really start at employee journey first. So, because in journeys you find each other. If you are in a company, at different locations, normally you start designing. I did it myself, and you start debating. Yeah, but in China we do it like this, and then you come to the middle ground, which is not ideal, and it's modular. In journeys, then you think about, okay, somebody joins a company. How should it feel? Okay, there's a scarcity in the market, so instead of the automated email, hey, thanks for your application, don't call us, we call you. Recently with a customer, they decided that not the recruiter called the future employee, but the future manager called. Hey, I saw your application, cool. Can I tell you a bit about my team? Do you want to join for a cup of coffee? That's journey, and then it's end-to-end. From the journey you go to end-to-end processes, future processes, and part of it is system. So if you do a phase zero, not only you don't have any data issues, which normally are the case with implementations, but also everybody understands, this is how we operate today in different countries, regions, business units, and this is how we are going to work in the future, and this part will be in the system.
Yeah.
So that investment, typically a phase zero, I always say 2 to 3 months. We can go fast, but the company depends on the size. It's more to 3 months.
Yeah.
The company is really prepared, and those implementations go much smoother because the traditional design session tells how you want your process, everything is possible. That's not needed anymore. So the SI can start configuring already during the phase zero, and the design session becomes more a validation session. So you will catch up a bit in the end.
Yeah, and it's a win-win situation because in the very beginning when we started with phase zero, both vendor and SI were like, hey, but you grab now a piece of the pie, which is ours.
Which we did.
Indeed, but it benefits the vendor because the first tenant is almost spot on, so the SI is more efficient. The customer gets more value for money because the system is more close to what they really need, and therefore the vendor can do quicker upsell. They see after a couple of years now what the added value is of the phase zeros, and that's really great to see that they acknowledge what we have foreseen for years already.
Yeah.
What would be the biggest advice that you'd give a small to medium size enterprise looking to do an implementation?
The advice, I think, even for large is the same. So it starts at the beginning. You need to really understand why do you want to implement the system. So think about how you want to do the selection. If you only do, I see still a lot of companies that only do that demo. Whether you hire us or not, if you only do a demo, that's prepped, right? It's the best of the best of the best. So then I see a lot of companies doing that long list of requirements that doesn't add any value. Can you do a job rec? Can you do this? That's not adding the value because everybody will say yes. So you make the difference in selection with use cases and technical deep dive. So gather the right people that can do that. Make your business case on total cost of ownership. Then on contract management, you really need to think about what's included in the contract. It's not only pricing, but it's also the SI part, looking at the planning. Still in a lot of planning proposals we see is 2-week UAT for a company of 5,000 people.
Right.
So think about, do we have the people? Do we have a test manager? And do we understand how much hours we need a test manager throughout the phase, or a PM, or a change, etc.? So that's one thing. The roles. Think about your future support model. That's also very important. And just take enough time. And don't hesitate to contact people who have done it before.
Like yourself.
Yeah, of course. Of course. That's how
I thought you were going to say, don't hesitate to contact me or Juul.
No, but every company, I did it. You do this every decade or every 15 years.
Yeah.
And the technology, it advances so fast that it's difficult to keep that knowledge in. So
and I think you recognize as well the first time we did it, the implementation and stepping into the market, SuccessDay, we got pushed back from the vendors and SIs by saying don't bring all awareness towards the customer because otherwise they will be scared off. But I think telling them the honest story on what's coming, because as a company you do this once every 5
I just said 10 to 15 years.
Or 10, 15 years. So the investment is high and you should know what's coming.
Yeah.
Because, HR is not rocket science, but doing it right means bringing in a big effort from your HR organization to make it a success. And that goes down to defining the processes, data, all the things that you mentioned. But I really believe that you should always tell that honest story towards a customer. What is going to happen with your organization when you start selecting a new vendor and implement it? Because it is a transformation in itself, of course, because you bring in a new way of working.
And it's really cool, right? It's not to scare people off.
No,
it's a really cool journey. Yeah. It's the time to rethink how are we operating, how are we serving our employees and managers, and it's really cool to use that piece of technology to change the way you are operating.
Yeah.
But just take enough time. Nobody cares if you say this will take 2 years and then you will come back. It's 1 year and 9 months, right? Nobody would care. If you do it the other way around, we will do this in 1 year. The technology you will always get live.
Yeah.
But you should consider, can we adapt as a company so fast in what we are changing?
And we advise every customer, bring the expertise in-house. Whether it's with us, of course, would be nice. But make sure you have the right people on board, and that and people that can be pragmatic, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Can oversee the things that coming, and even when we help customers, guiding them through that journey. Even we can't oversee everything that's coming, because in the end, every company has its own things that they are not aware of, or HR from a specific country is not mentioning it. Oh, we needed this or that in the process because it's mandatory. And all these kind of things pop up. But at least we help customers understand that throughout the journey, things will pop up.
Yeah.
That feels as a throwback or as a bump that you need to step over, but bring in the knowledge, bring in someone that can help you.
Yeah, I remember the early days of the very first Workday implementations in Europe, say 2014, 2015. One of the major things was that organizations would implement these systems and they wouldn't backfill their UAT team. Yeah. And what would happen is their teams would be tasked with 2 jobs for 6, 9, 12 months, however long the implementation was going to take. And of course there was a lot of burnout of employees during that time, and those people then left the project because the organizations didn't think about the impact of that implementation on the workforce.
Myself, right? So the HR admins were responsible for delivering the data, cleaning the data. They were involved in UAT.
Yeah.
And we didn't thought through the future processes. So when we were live, 1 year later, I found out in the organization I was closest to that the moment a job rec was approved in Workday, in this case, somebody from the HR admin team would print out that approval and put it in a folder in a cabinet, because that was how the process would run. Before Workday, they had a signature thing, but nobody thought about that. You have now a system and the approval, that audit trail is still there. No, she was still doing. Okay, I print this now. I put it because I need to have this, and that kind of easy things, right? And backfilling the team. Yeah, that's.
And being aware that you need other capabilities as well after go live.
Yeah,
it's also true.
Think that through and also look into who is within the team capable to step in that new roles.
Yeah, succession.
Yeah.
And also, I think once systems go live is generally when employees look elsewhere to go into the next implementation. So of course there is an impact to the workforce that you may lose some people after this.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that organizations should know and be aware of.
Yeah.
Okay. What specific verticals? I mean, SuccessDay, you guys operate in SuccessFactors, Oracle, Workday, and Ceridian Dayforce. What verticals are you seeing the biggest intake of these products, or the biggest interest?
Yeah, so we are agnostic. So the four you mentioned, I would say, is 85% of our business. We also do other vendors. And what do you mean exactly with verticals?
Industry sectors. Banking, manufacturing, automotive. Is there any particular industry sector that's like...
For Dayforce, it's you see that they are really strong in retail manufacturing.
Yeah.
I see Workday, Oracle, SuccessFactors all over the place.
Yeah.
I do see that when, for example, SAP does a SAP for HANA project, that they, I wouldn't say give SuccessFactors for free, but that's very often a package deal.
Yeah.
Of course, Oracle does the same, but it's not. I don't see specifically that Workday is very strong in banking. I see them now everywhere. What you do see, considering Workday, I see they win a lot of tech scale-ups, that kind of thing, technology companies. Yeah, Oracle is really launching now here in the Benelux and Germany, but they are in technology, and the other one is marine.
Yeah, I'm finding it hard to say. In the Netherlands, if we zoom in the Netherlands, and I see that SuccessFactors is, as an example, is governmental, universities, hospitals,
public sectors, public sector organisation.
Yeah. But for the rest, indeed, I think Workday is all over, and then you see a bit of UKG somewhere, but it's also retail, manufacturing.
Yeah.
But it's more workforce management related.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an exciting space, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really exciting.
And it goes so fast, and if you add value, right? It's not just selling a kitchen; it's really helping the customer, and then you see those projects go. Yeah, no project goes completely smooth, but you see it goes much smoother than I had myself, and people are really happy with it. And we always create long-term partnerships with our customers. So it's not just in and out, and that's really cool.
Yeah. So onto some of your customers. What are the most exciting customers and project initiatives that your SuccessDay are currently working on at the moment?
Well, I think the US-based logistics company that asked us to help them implement Workday throughout Europe.
That's a nice one.
Logistics centers. That's a really great one because it's almost a first time SI way of approaching this project. I really like that one.
Company grew by acquisition, so every country, within one country, it could be that the 5 locations are completely different, and now they are working together for the first time, so that's cool. I think what I'm also proud of it, that one is just finished, and now supporting them with business as usual, is the company that was divested, and then we supported them with clone and purge, which means cloning their tenant and removing everything which is not needed anymore. That's tough, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
We do a lot of selection processes, and every customer is a bit different, and then slowly bringing those customers up to speed in knowledge and where to look at, but it's their process, they make the decisions. That's really cool.
And I think one of the companies where I'm proudest of, is that a good way of saying, is where they reached out to us like 2 years ago. They were guided back then by one of the big consultancy firms, but not satisfied enough, and then they reached out to us, and we helped them selecting a vendor, supporting them throughout the implementation, and they're now in the 3rd phase. And
we still didn't got a watch.
No, and there was another one.
if you're watching, they need a watch.
No, but it's also what I really like is that when our employees do like to work for a customer, and we have some big customers where we have teams of the size of 8, 9, or 10 consultants. And that's, I think those are the most fun projects, because everyone within SuccessDay is involved in any way to the project, and then you get a lot of buzz around it. And, But those customers where we do the vendor selection and then be there for 2-3 years, guiding them, advising them. Yeah, that's
you see the change from the start right into the end, and Yeah,
and that they're
that
still
must
happy
be.
with us. That's of course also very important. And,
Yeah.
but yeah, the acknowledgement comes from we want to do the next phase with you guys as well.
Yeah.
So
and that's also what I'm proud of, is that one of the customers said, SuccessDay, they don't come in a fancy suit with this kind of statement of work, but they pull up their sleeves and they're part of the team.
Yeah.
Your people are part of the team. They are one of us.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest compliment you can get, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's why we like working with you guys as well as a business. So when we do our recruitment services for you guys in the various areas, I said to one of the guys on our last deal, I love doing business with these guys because it's an enjoyable process. We like to, as an organisation, we like to think that our clients enjoy the process because we're funny, maybe, and things like that, right? But it's not all strictly business. Is what I mean, and I think that's part of your culture when you're dealing with your customers as well. It's very much business, but actually we're going to have fun whilst doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's also why we connect so well is because of that.
Yeah.
It's and we pay on time. That's really like us as well.
I wouldn't know. I'll have to ask finance.
So it's not only and just sending resumes and. I think your team knows exactly what we need, and also when we're not happy, it's solved, and that's partnership, and that's what we do with our customers as well. Yeah, that's the holy grail of business, isn't it? It's not that difficult.
It's not business. I'm going to turn up and I'm going to give you the advice that I'm qualified to give you, and that's it. And then I'm going to leave. It's all about partnership and how you can work together to find a common goal, right? That's what it's about.
100%.
Yeah, and still a lot of companies do that different, right?
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
I was always
it's crazy.
Profit maximization. People always ask us, how much people do you want next year? How much profit do you want next year? I said, I don't know. I know we will have roughly 100 people, so I know what we need to make in order not to go bankrupt. But I couldn't care less. We don't have an EBIT or a turnover goal, employee goal. If you have happy customers and happy employees, and the economy is not going down the drain, then the rest will follow.
Yeah.
So, and that's how we manage.
Don't take yourself too serious, right? So, building relationships, whether it's with your friends or with partners like you guys, I think it's also good to be open and transparent as well. What we started with values. So sometimes you drop the ball, but then it's all about how we're going to solve it together. If you send people out after the first time they made a mistake, then it's not going to work, right? So I think we also needed to get used to each other, but that is strong partnership, and that really goes well. So
yeah, totally agree. All right. Lastly, what advice or words of wisdom would you like to share with our listeners who are interested in the cloud HCM space and considering a career in this industry?
Yeah. What I see is what the strongest consultants are is they if you go into the HR IT, is to understand the HR but also understand technology. So whether you're an integration expert that understands HR or whether you're an HR professional that wants to do advisory, you still need to understand these systems. So with us, all our perms, whether they're integrations or the other side of the medal, they all do a Workday, Oracle, Ceridian SuccessFactors training, because that's the only way how to advise a customer. And then, if you want to be more technically, so do the config, then start with a core module and specialize yourself in whatever you want to specialize. And last, talk to people, talk to your customer. So the best consultants we have, on, for example, the technical side, we are excellent in doing absence or time tracking for Ceridian or for Workday, but they also are able to understand. They want to understand the question behind the question the customer is asking. So instead of saying, okay, I got my paper and I'm start configuring, they set up that call, build that relationship and say, hey, do I understand correctly, and have you considered these options? And also when you then do the configuration, then you have built that relationship. So when you deliver and the customer is not happy, then you have that connection, and it's not that somebody's saying, hey, this is not right.
Yeah.
So I think this is best what I could muster up with, and be genuine always.
Yeah.
In everything you do.
Yeah, I think you ticked all the boxes there.
Oh, then they say amen.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think it's always the hardest part to, translate functionality into, the technology and being that bridge. So if you can start a good conversation and are a good listener and can do a bit of an analysis and logical way of thinking, and you like technology, then I think the world of HR tech is a great place to work.
Yeah, it's a great space for people to get into, isn't it? Like
100%.
Graduates looking for a career move, people looking to come out of different industries into a new industry which is tech related. This is a great market.
One of
for
our
you
best
to get involved
PMs is coming from a supply chain. He's a really strong supply chain background.
Yeah.
But he really is able to challenge people on what they think and what they need and what they mean into how we need to manage a project to make it a success.
Yeah.
So he has a completely different background. Did one HR implementation before, and but yeah, he's so strong in now as one of our best PMs, I can say. Can even have a total different background.
If he's listening now, he's going to be going, yes, me. It's what I do. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always. First. Yeah.
And see you next month for the next podcast.
I'll see you.